What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the TACBox Podcast. I am here with my co-host, my partner in crime, Dale Martinson, and today we want to talk about all things puppies, mainly after whelping. So we had an episode on whelping, how to get through your whelping, and today we want to talk about what do you do with all those little puppies running around after you've whelped them and you have certain issues, problems, anything that pops up, and you want to get them ready to go to their new home. So we're going to talk about that today. But first, let's check in and see how Dale is doing. Dale, how you doing today?
Boy, we're doing good. We've been having our May storms, and so we haven't been blown to Kansas yet. But we've had our pre-tornado stuff. I even had to bring Samson in the garage last night. So I mean, we got him out this morning. Got him to wake up and leave the garage at a crack of 9. He's like a teenager. But yeah, this is our great time of year. Lots of shows, lots of puppies being born. This is the time of year, springtime. I've got a nest of phoebes underneath my my patio cover right now. So I mean, it's time for babies.
It's time for babies all the way around, and that is awesome that we're talking about that in this episode because I know there's a lot of people out there having puppies right now. But Samson, like a teenager, so today my daughter, it's their last week of school. She's a sophomore. Most people would know her at this point that are probably watching the podcast. She goes to the shows with me, but she generally will text when she leaves for school in the morning because no one's home. So she'll text us until she's leaving. She'll text us until so today she doesn't text. So about a half an hour after normal text time, I'm like, "Are you going to school today? Did I miss something?" It turns out she's still sleeping. The first time ever she overslept for school.
Right today down in infamy. It's like, oh, I just want to make sure you're not doing like you did on that day.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
exactly. So she's gonna probably write it off to the late travel nights of dog shows and stuff like that. I'm gonna write it off to she's checked out of school because it's the last week and wanted to be a teenager. I don't know, but so that's my funny story for the week. Other than that, we didn't show last weekend. We were home getting ready. We go to Laramie, Wyoming this Friday afternoon. We'll drive there. 6 chin entered in the show this weekend. So we got a major there, and we'll see what we can do this weekend, and then we'll come home for a full 24 hours before we take off for Missoula, Montana, for 4 days. So or 6 days technically.
So yeah, we're leaving on Saturday to go. I'm judging a toy dog show in Doswell, Virginia. New club, very exciting. Be fun to different area. Jane's already laying out clothes. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be locked and loaded. Come Saturday morning, we're shoving off, so it'll be fun. So
So
let's talk
you
about.
judge. Yeah, let's talk about puppies. So I get a lot of questions in our TACBox email. For those that you don't know, it's the TACBox Podcast at gmail.com. You can email all sorts of questions there. Don't send us any hate mail, but you can also uh, email your questions in that you might want us to talk about. And I've gotten quite a few questions lately, and the common theme has to be with puppies. So I figured this would be a great episode to talk about puppies. And the questions really come from past the whelping stage. So we've whelped our puppies.
We got them born.
We got them born. The hard part's over, right? It's
Yeah, the scary
mom.
part. Over.
Yeah, maybe the scary part, maybe the hard part depends on
We
how you
got
want to look at it. And so we got some questions coming in, and I'm just going to kind of start. Um, at what age do you really start handling them, socializing them, getting them used to humans or other animals? Is that right after whelping, or do you? What's the first week look like as far as socialization?
All right. So your first week of having your litter born, you're going to put 85% of the care on the mom because she's the one that's making this whole show happen. You need to be mindful of her eating. You need to be mindful of her bowel movements. You need to be mindful of that her mammary stations. Make sure that they're all getting nursed out, that you don't get a mastitis started. You need to really pay daily attention to the mom. I mean, the mom is, without her, this does not happen, or it doesn't happen easily, and it's not ideal. So you really need to watch her closely. And her, like I say, she needs to eat, she needs to go to the bathroom a lot, she needs to, all of these things where, because that first 10 days where their eyes are closed, everybody's kind of on autopilot. You really, so like I say, we're watching her, we're watching everything about her, we're watching food intake, output, all of it. The big thing with puppies and your setup depends on the breed. So where you're set up with, what your setup looks like with a litter of Japanese chin puppies, or say, should we like go crazy and decide to breed Samson and we're going to have a litter of Great Pyrenees puppy, different setups. And then then B is, where do you live? What's your climate like? What do you need to do to provide a safe, healthy environment for these puppies where you live? Like, say, we live down in the South. I think we qualify as the South. Don't you think we qualify as the South?
I'd say that's the South, yeah.
Yeah, Southish. I mean, we have what I call a summer kennel. My kennel is mostly air exchange, fans, shade, all of that. We do have heat, of course, but heating is just a short period of the time. It's mostly cool, keeping things cool, keeping things, that kind of thing. Whereas if we're up in South Dakota, where you would have months and months and months of freezing temperatures, that's a different kind of kennel setup for your puppies. But so once you kind of decide how I'm going to do these babies, and what is going to be my game plan, then you kind of design the kennel and how your whelping situation and how this is going to be. But the first 10 days, eyes are closed, and it's just a matter of kind of, you want to monitor them. If you were really, really diligent, you would do like my BFF Tyson here, and you would weigh those puppies daily, and you would kind of go, this one is this, and kind of keep track of how are they gaining as they should. Right after whelp, they'll take a little drop, but they should pick back up pretty shortly after that and start gaining steadily. That's where you're going to break into your note keeping skills, and and then also in that first 10 days, that's where, if you have a breed that is a dock tail, that's when you're going to do it. If you have a breed that takes dew claws off, that's when you're going to do it. All of that kind of stuff happens in the first 10 days. But it's really autopilot. It's kind of like, you really kind of just kind of make sure that the puppies are clean and dry, but you're taking care of mom.
Are you handling puppies? Do we need to be socializing them at this point, or is it kind of just let them be because their eyes are closed and they're just, everything's by feel?
Yeah, and so you handle them, yes, but you're not really going to do a ton of imprinting until their little eyes are open and they can start to hear, because they're born blind and deaf. So as soon as they start to hear and start to, so then that you can start getting some reactionary value, and you can start picking them up and handling them, and it's really kind of important that you kind of, I think you can learn a lot by handling those puppies at that point, and you can start to see early temperament tendencies, like which ones are more people-y, which ones are not. And by handling them, you also, more importantly probably, are constantly assessing their condition. Like, is this puppy gaining weight? Yes or no? So like a lot of times, if you have a large litter, I was talking to a lady the other day about, she had a toy breed litter where she usually would have 4 or 5 puppies, and she had like 9. And she was having to really struggle doing supportive care of the mother while they're doing that. But when you are going through there, you can say, oh well, I need to supplement feed these puppies. I might need to feed them. And people say, well, we're going to feed the littlest one first, right? Nope. You're going to feed the biggest one. You're going to fill up the big fatty so that the little one can have the lion's share of what the mom has, because the mom's milk is way better than anything you can come up with, and she's going to sit there and let them nurse for hours, whereas you can go ahead and load up the fat ones and like let the littler ones have a crack at it, because the big ones are going to push the little ones out. That's just kind of the part of that survival of the fittest thing.
Is that something? Is that something where if you have, say, a litter of three, you got a 5 ounce, 5.5 ounce chin and a 3 ounce chin? Do you just would you ever supplement the big one just to let the little ones have more time, even if they're not struggling to get on?
Well, I would really keep a track of the rate of gain on the little one. Really make sure that's where, while you're there, you have to be checked in, right? You kind of look in there. How many nipples does the mother have? Does she have really good stations? Does she have, like, are a couple of them conjoined and weird little knuckly nipples where they're harder to navigate? All of that kind of stuff is all that. It's really important to kind of look as you're watching those puppies, see how they're hooking on. Are they filling up? You can weigh them before, you can weigh them after. You can kind of see how they're doing. And if they need help, that's when you can step in and you can put your finger on the scales of Mother Nature, and you can help that turtle across the road. You have a chance of like up in the odds, and that's when you can kind of do that. But largely, like I say, it's kind of autopilot, unless it's something weird, like unless you're having some sort of issue with that. Now, one thing in the summertime when you have a breed that's a cesarean section, really be mindful of that incision. Make sure that those stitches aren't getting too wet. That's part of watching your bitch. She had a section. Winter puppies tend not to get as wet and moist in there, in that incision line. Summer puppies, it can be warmer, And part of what I do for my puppies is I have heat underneath. So, and it's not the entire whelping area, it's part of it. And you'll be amazed, those puppies will gravitate. And you need to have a place where the mom you're not cooking her brains out. She needs to be cool where the puppies need to be warm. So I put a heating pad under part, but not all. And where you can kind of mind the temperature and kind of watch. And if you listen to those puppies, are they fussing? If they don't complain unless something's wrong. The puppies don't just gripe like we do just because we're bored and we want to complain. If they're fussing and then they're either hungry, they're cold, or they're too hot. People cook them all the time. They go, oh, I want to really warm them up. They've got the mom for warmth too. They've got each other, and then they've got a little heat from underneath. We tend to overdo that a little bit. But a cooler room with a warm box is kind of the best scenario, I think, for a lot of the puppies.
Well, and that gives mom an opportunity. If she's getting too hot to step out of the box generally and can cool down a little bit, right?
Absolutely, because you've got to keep her comfortable. She's got to eat. She has to process. She's got all of these things so that her milk is coming in right. So for my breeds, because we're talking 20 pounds and less, I go ahead and with my puppies for the first 10 days, 12 days, I'll go ahead and I have carpet down. I have and I get them from like Walmart. I get the welcome mats, and I cut them to put down in the box, and that works really well, because when the moms come right off of having the puppies, they'll want to dig. They've still got the hormones, and they'll roll those puppies up like a burrito. Bad. So then after about a couple weeks, those puppies are going to start kicking out enough elimination, and the mom's not going to be getting all of it. So then I go ahead and I cover that carpet with a fleece, and then we just change the fleece a couple of times a day, keeping the puppies dry. Puppies have to stay dry. That's really important, that they're not getting wet. Wet puppies are not healthy puppies. So that's where you kind of start in there, and that kind of is going to kind of see you through the next 5 weeks. Just keeping them dry and keeping her fed, and the eyes are opening, and you can start handling them, and you got the great puppy breath, and you can start telling them you like me best, and all of that stuff, and you can kind of start to see features of their development, like how big are their eyes, how far set are the eyes, all of that stuff. Are they, because strong puppies, not every great dog was a strong puppy, but every strong puppy has a good shot of becoming a great dog. And strength is a big thing. What I look to forward to keep is I want a strong puppy. You know, I mean, not saying that you can't fall in love with the ones we tend to fall in ones with the ones that need us a little more. Um, you know, nothing breeds love like a little bit of dependency. But those puppies that are the strongest ones, those are really the ones you want to go ahead and start to breed from there. You know, I mean, you're going to find that, but you get a first litter coming.
Yeah. Now, one of the questions that was posed in a Facebook group this week was newborn puppies after they've been whelped. How close do you sleep to them, or how long do you sleep with them, or anything like that. And it went from anywhere from the first 48 hours to 6 to 8 weeks that they sleep with their puppies next to their bed or in their bedroom or all the things like this. So, where is the line that we draw of letting Mother Nature and the mom, the bitch of the puppies, control the situation, and how much we interject? So let's talk just a little bit about, like, having our puppies in our bedroom or sleeping next to our puppies. What are we checking on at night if we're doing that? What are your thoughts?
Okay, I hate that idea.
All right, we're gonna get canceled here.
Yeah,
We're
oh,
going
we're
against what
going down.
everybody's
We're
saying.
going down hard on this. I hate that idea. I think you need to be attuned. I think you need to be part of it. You need to check it. You need to check her, and you need to make sure she's going to the bathroom, and you need to have all of that. I mean, set up. And like a lot of my whelping area, the moms can leave and go out through the dog door and go to the bathroom, come back, which is bueno. But yeah, no, I don't want. I think they're better, and I know I'm better because like oh I'm sleeping. It's like the other night when the tornado came. I'm like I'm too tired. If this is the time, we're gonna go with it because I'm not. Don't wake me up unless the roof's coming off. And so I mean they are going to do better. And let's face it, a bunch of dogs in your house, in your bedroom, and all that. Unless you are super diligent, you are on a fast track to Nastyville, USA, because they are pooping and peeing, and you need to have it where you can clean it well and keep it ventilated and all that, and that is not on your bedroom carpet. That is just so have a good spot set up for. Some people do cameras. Very cool. I mean, I love the camera idea. Like, boop, all right, everyone's good. That's great. But honestly, if I'm going to get up and check on them, I'll set my alarm. I'll get up and check on them. But then I'll leave them alone. And I try not to have my bitches and litters in Grand Central Station. I don't want them where, like, when that first month, they don't need to be like, and some breeds are better about than others, but they don't need to have a bunch of other dogs running through there. They don't need to have a bunch of strangers going through there. The first month, just leave them alone. Give them some space, and let them have their babies. Take care of them, and then as soon as the game changer is once they start eating solid food. Correct, because once they start eating solid food, mom stops cleaning them. And then those little bundles of loves are going to be little poop machines. And so you've got to be, I mean, once they start, she's going to start dropping off how much she's cleaning. So then that means you're going to start changing out bedding, more bedding changing and stuff. And that's kind of important for the puppy's cleanliness, so that you don't want them on wet beds, you don't want them on that. I start like with the chin. Once they start eating solid food, I put a litter box with pine pellets in them, so they'll go to the bathroom and they'll start using that box, and which is kind of handy. Cavaliers, little too big to poop in the box. They need to go outside. So I open up the pet door and start letting them go out into the little puppy area to go to the bathroom, because they need to start learning. We don't potty in the bed. We potty out here. And that same train of thought, for bigger breeds, like 15 to 20 pounds plus, they need to potty outside. So I think that for me, I would rather have my puppies going out, and maybe even dealing with a few things that come with going out, like maybe they'll get dirty and I have to clean them up, or maybe they'll pick up even a cold. Fine. I want them to have that foundation of going outside and going to the bathroom. That's a very natural, instinctual thing for dogs, because in the den, in the wild, as soon as mom stops cleaning them, they're going out to go to the bathroom. I think that's kind of a good thing, and that makes a dog that's very easy to housebreak. So, I mean, when you are watching that bitch to whelp, the more you can watch her, the better. I would even have them in my bedroom or whatever, and have them near me. I've put paper in there so I could hear them moving around if they started to labor. Yes, absolutely. Once they have the babies and she's all taken care of, then get them their own spot. And you need to be there, but they need to have their thing. And that's kind of when at 4 weeks, we start in with a little bit of worming, a little bit of intranasal for kennel cough, all of that stuff, because you're going to start vaccinating on most breeds somewhere between 6 and 8 weeks, depending.
You seem that answer was opposite of what majority of people are going to say. And now I would say the majority of people are probably
Yeah.
majority of people are probably overly cautious, and so we'll preface it, or maybe preface it. Post it, is that a word? I don't know. We'll say, well, I mean, you do you, boo boo, right? Like if you like sleeping next to your puppies, sleep next to your puppies if it makes you feel safer.
If you want
I
them on.
kind of look at it, yeah, I kind of look at it like, man, if if I'm a female and I have a baby and my parents are coming into my bedroom checking on me while I'm trying to sleep at night with my baby, and like, I wouldn't like that. I can't imagine. I mean, I think like you said, they probably just want a little bit of space. Give them some space, let them do their thing. And I think there's a really thin line between let Mother Nature do what Mother Nature does, and you've mentioned it before. You can put your finger on the scale and tip it a little bit, but do you
What
need
is
to sit and watch them overnight, or can they make it through the night? I guess that's could be breed dependent. Maybe if you got some smaller toy breeds where you need to really have an eye on them a little bit, but
Well, if your puppies are steadily gaining weight, and especially if you have to turn the mom out, well, then whoever's up last, which in your household would be McKenna, she before you go to bed, put Sally outside to go potty. Take a quick look at the puppies, make sure everybody looks good, and then whoever gets up first, look at them then. I mean, because if everything is on track, well, then you're fine. I mean, if you think that something's fallen behind and you may need to, I need to take her out, and like, so sometimes, like what I'll sometimes do, like the first week or so, we'll like lay a hospital pad out and put the mom on there and plug the puppies on and watch them drink, and just kind of see how they're doing with all of that. But you really need to try to not freak out the mom and totally stress her. Have her in a calm, I mean, sedate, temperature controlled, safe place where she feels comfortable with her babies, which, and let her take care of them. And if you need to do more, you can always do more. I mean, attentiveness, excellent. But, the idea that it's like, oh, I'm going to do this all like no, that's kind of kook. I mean, I think that maybe people do it at first and then they kind of get it's I don't know if that's sustainable. And once the puppies start getting older, so we've made it past that point when we're weaning them. Weaning puppies is different for every breed. So toy dogs, we're gonna maybe do some soft food. We're gonna do some, like soaked food, maybe a little bit canned or something like that. There's what different the good brands of dog food like Royal Canin, Nutrisource. They have starter, which is a smaller kibble. The little dogs love it. Expensive, but they love it. And all you're gonna start feeding those puppies, and that I think to me is a key time. Once you start feeding them, that's when you need to be really hands on them. That's when you need to pick them up and have the puppet shows, and you need to talk, and you to put them on your shoulder and carry them around and mess with them. Once they start eating, you really need to get your stink on them. Make them your baby. And I'll tell you, the better temperament your mom has, the better temperament the babies have. You have a mom that's crazy, your babies are probably going to be a little harder to raise. It works for people too. And
Yeah, I
crazy.
was gonna say, just think about your in-laws a little bit. If you think they're a little bit crazy,
There you go. There
you,
you
you
go.
know, I
Yeah,
mean,
there you go. Nurture nature, the environmental end of it. But that's really when you start, because once they're eating solid food, you're teaching them to go outside. You're starting to really mess with them, get their shots into them, start taking pictures of them, start placing them. The bigger your dogs are, the earlier you need to start having the bigger and more the earlier you need to start making provisions to having them ready to leave. So, I mean, say like if you have your litter of Great Pyrenees puppies, when they get that 8 week shot, you need to have homes lined up for pretty much everything. You don't want to run out, and you need to like be really diligent. That big dogs and breeds are like that. You've got to plan. You got to advertise. You got to photograph. You need to talk this up. Little dogs, we are lazy. We're gonna get them sold by the crack of 16 or 18 weeks, or if we don't end up keeping them. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's like, oh wow, we have an extra 3 Japanese chin. So, oh wow, we have 13 Great Pyrenees. That's a problem. So, all of that starts going that, and then as those puppies start to wean during the day, you need to pull mom out. She needs to spend the day away. And they need to start to eat. You need to really handle them. Really start to watch them. This is when you're making your good choices. I'm very seldom am I surprised at, I know what I want to keep to grow out by the time they, 8, 10 weeks, I know it's like that one and you've been watching them and which puppies you're going to place and all that kind of stuff. You have a feel for it anyway, because you can start to see how their bites are lining up and how they're standing on themselves and are they super inquisitive, that kind of thing. And the ones that aren't, you can tip the scale and you can handle them a little bit more. You can start to do that stuff, and then just putting mom back and forth, morning and night, make her overnight with them. One fun thing, at about 21 days, while you're watching your mom, that's kind of a magic time where the puppies start needing more from the mom, and they really start to pull from her more. And that is a time when they can go eclamptic, which is they used to call milk fever. And that's one that's like where you need to be watching her, really watching her eating. Like see if you need to supplement those puppies or whatever, or whether she can do it. When you don't, I mean, as soon as they're ready to start eating, or if you need to, this is when the breeder can step in and start feeding more and stuff. Don't let her crash. Don't let her calcium crash. This is fatal to nursing bitches. This is one. I mean, there is probably a slight genetic component, like it might be inherited a little bit, but on bigger litters, smaller dogs, or if they're not eating enough, they can pull them into eclampsia. And if that does happen, you have a very short window. You can turn it around with a calcium supplement like CalSorb, or there's injectable calcium. But that's something. And one thing we do through the whole time is we give those bitches. You can either give them pet cows, or you can go and be super cheap like us and go to Walmart and get the generic Equate Tums and just throw one in there a couple times a day. And those have lots of calcium. Very good thing for your lactating bitches and stuff. But I think the big thing is don't leave them in too much too. Kind of start watching when you can start pulling them out. And that's the time when you really want to start messing with them anyway. That's the cute age. That's the fun age, when you can they start to see little personalities.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the that's what I think. That's kind of the rewarding age. Is like, okay, we've got through the hard part. Now let's have some fun. Let's start doing all the socialization and getting ready to get them ready to go to their home. So we're getting ready of getting ready. Is there so what have you come across? I know we like to be frugal here on the TACBox podcast. So when you have the people out there that are breeding toy breeds, maybe they're having 2 litters a year, so maybe 6 puppies, and then you have bigger breeders that are maybe having, 50 puppies a year. Let's talk about toys, best playtime toys. What's something that puppies that age can safely have and utilize, but maybe if you got 50 puppies a year, can afford to have in there with your puppies?
Good question. Good question. So I love getting toys for my puppies at the Dollar Tree. You can go and they have great toys there. And they're cheap. A lot of them are between $1 and $2 or whatever. Lots of plush toys, lots of that. It's a good resource or a place to buy toys. Another thing that you can do is you can take your water bottles. The puppies love that. Throw your empty water bottles in there, let them play with them and chew on those a little bit. Those are great. Just the thing you have to remember is, and I'll save your hate mail, but I use rawhide too. People hate the rawhide, but it's all right. The big thing is it's not a forever investment. As soon as it starts getting slimy and yucky, throw it away. It's not going to ingest it. It's like when it starts to break down, throw it away when it's nasty. It's not a forever thing for the dog. But yeah, toys are important. It's important. It's really great for your training with them and their interaction, and you start to see them learning. Like I like to, when they start going inside and outside, they like, oh wow, this is very important. Also at that time, especially with little toy breeds, get them up on the table and stack them. Get them where they have, because I don't know how many times you see at the show, people put them on the table and they're like they caught a feral cat, and it's like going, and it's like they're holding him up there, and the dog, that's a puppy that wasn't on the table. Get them on the table, get them used to it, get their feet under them and stuff like that, where they're like used to, and you can talk to them and all that stuff, because it makes a dog that is, and you're going to be grooming them on the table, get them used to that table, all of that stuff. But, and I think that the toy aspect in that stimulating them like that, super important, super important for training. And puppies start to get oral, and you don't want them getting oral on each other because they're cutting teeth. So you have to have things for them to work on. Some breeds more so than others. Like I took care of a friend of mine's Weimaraner litter. I think it was like 8 puppies. We'd gone one afternoon to the feed store. They ate an entire wicker rattan patio set. Gone. Cushion. It was gone. There wasn't a piece of it left. We're like Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. This was their grandmother Maybelle's favorite toy because they have such a soft mouth and they don't want anything. You can wash it, reuse it. Every breed's a little different on that, but it's important that they have those things to chew on and all that. It's important. It's a developmental thing, and they should have appropriate things to chew on. If you want them to chew on your shoes, be sure to give them old shoes that you don't wear anymore, so then they can go in there and find your Louboutins or Nikes or whatever, and they will seek them out and destroy them. Pick out appropriate toys that you want them to use, and then have them available and encourage people have their toys. Their toys are important. It's I mean it's a big thing.
I mean, I was gonna say that, like, appropriate toys, because not I learned that lesson the hard way. When I was growing up, is what did you give your dogs? Well, an old sock that had a hole in it, so you tied a knot in it and you let them tug of war with socks. Cool. Well, now guess what? They're seeking out socks. So now your feet are chew toys because you're wearing socks. And if they happen to find a good pair of socks, it's a chew toy at this point because that's what you taught them. So
Yeah,
there's
chewing.
that aspect of it. You know,
Yeah. And what
be
kind of
careful
puppy
what you give.
did you have as a kid? What kind of puppies did you have when you were young?
Yorkshire Terriers.
Mm-hmm. So like one thing when you have a puppy and they're starting to learn to teeth and play with them, and because toy people, we are super sloppy about this because it's not as big a deal, but especially on larger breeds, I never let a puppy put its mouth on me. I just don't do it. I don't put my finger in the mouth and go, try, shake it, or growl at them, see if you can get. It's leading to bad things at a later place because I mean, I just don't like. I'll play with them and I do that and stuff, but I don't encourage them to put their mouth on me. I think it's one of those slippery slope things, especially older people like myself. Like I got we're tearing my hand there. I mean, your skin gets a little bit more where can break a little bit more easier. It's just not a good thing to do. That's where the thing, oral behavior and stuff. I don't play with puppies like other puppies. Play with the puppy like how you want to play with that puppy. And it's like it's adorable when they come and jump on you until they weigh more than you're anticipating and they start knocking you down. Then it's not as adorable. So be consistent and think about the end game as to how you want to raise that dog and how you want to do with it.
Yeah, I have a dog that loves to wrestle. He wants to get on his back and kick his feet around and wrestle. But the second, and I'm all about it. Like, I like to wrestle. I think it's fun. The second he puts his mouth around a finger or around a wrist, he opens his mouth. It's like, nope, we're done. We're not.
We're done.
We're
Yeah.
not doing it that way because all it takes is him to want to play with a kid or an older person, and now you have teeth marks or blood drawn. Nope, not doing that. And that's all my guess was he was wrestled with as a young puppy or something. He's always liked to wrestle, and maybe it's just because he's a boy. Who knows? But try
Well,
to.
and yeah, you're exactly right. You've got to think about how you want this to go later. And then the other thing is once they have that first shot into them, then start taking them places. Put them in a laundry basket or a crate in the car and take them places. Even if you take them from one room to the other, just like changing it up on them. Because dogs that get traveled and get used to traveling are less likely to become as violently car sick when they leave to go. So the more you can put into that, like we're going to take them places. Once they have shots, then they need to go. They just need to go and do as much as you possibly can with them and expose them to all of that stuff where they can have other people handle them and I mean broaden their horizons. It's
So
really hard.
one shot, they can be out of the house.
One shot they can be a little bit out of the house. That is not fully immunized. That's partially immunized. So I mean, if you're gonna run down and get the mail or go run over to do something, put them in the car with you, take them just so they get a little trip. By the time they've had 2 weeks past their second shot, well, then you can start, then take them to Tractor Supply, take them to, farm feed store, do that kind of stuff where they can more exposure and they can take more and do more. And I think it's very important. Some breeds even more so than others. You have to break the litter unit. A lot of times people start to think, oh, I just love them all. I'm going to keep them all. I'm going to keep them in my bedroom. It's like, bad idea. Because you're going to get some of them are going to be little assholes and they're going to be dominant, and some of them are going to be sweet and they're going to like end up being little wallflowers. I mean, they need to be broke up. Some breeds are more communal than others and are a little bit better than others. Chin and Cavaliers, super easy. They tend not to like destroy each other's, but a lot of breeds, you need to break them up. need to take them and like handle them individually so that they don't dog bond. As I think a dog bonded dog is a difficult animal to work with. It's a difficult animal to place later. It's just like, we call them kennel zombies. And when someone's got a dog and they've never done anything with it, and it's like, well, I just didn't do much with it. Well, yeah, no kidding. It's your dog is pretty introverted, and that's really, the older they get, the harder that is to change. So start doing stuff with them, break the litter unit. That's why if you can make your selections and get those other puppies into their homes where people can invest in their temperament and their personality, and you can concentrate on yours. I'd rather go ahead and accidentally like let someone else have the better puppy, but have a chance to optimize a puppy. I mean, it's just common sense. Honestly, you see like the mega families where they have my father came from 9, 10 kids in their family. Yeah, that's a lot, right? I mean, how much individual attention do you get 1/9 of your parents, undivided, versus like, a couple of kids, 1 or 2 or 3, 4 kids. I mean, it gets more, right? So you spend that time, break them up, get them in there. That might be your determination as to how often you breed. If I can get these placed, I can get them out there. I got this one. That's kind of, since I'm pro breeding, I think you should breed all you can, but you need to breed all you can that you can do it right. How you can invest the time into the puppies and the training and to optimize them, because it doesn't do you any good to have these beautiful dogs if they are backward. It does you no good.
Well, and do yourself a favor too, because really getting them outside of their litter mates and okay being alone. I mean, think about that person that's buying that puppy from you, comes and picks it up, all excited about this puppy. Oh my gosh, this is the cutest thing. I've been waiting 2 months to get this dog. I get it home, and all that dog does is whine and cry all night long for 3 nights because it's its first night away from its litter mates and it's been sleeping with its litter mate. Now you got a buyer that's going through puppy hell, and you probably are getting phone calls, emails, text messages from this buyer like, how do I get through this? So like, really do yourself a favor, get them away from their litter mates a little bit, get them socialized, used to being alone, not attached to the other dogs. Everything will go so much smoother. Everything will go smoother.
That's one thing. Before I let a puppy go, before someone takes their puppy, at least a couple of nights, I'll have them sleep in a laundry basket, or I'll separate them out, move them by themselves. The other thing is, like, I will go ahead and overnight I'll throw a handful of baby blankets and toys in there with the litter overnight, have them have the litter scent. Then I break them up. So here's a blanket and some toys that smell like family. They're not totally freaked out about the idea of sleeping by themselves, and you can kind of ease the blow so they don't have to go cold turkey. That all of those, there's little things you can do that make it easier and better. The other thing is, I mean, where like bigger breeds, you really do want them out as soon as they're ready to go, just because of logistic stuff. But the little dogs, you have a chance, you can do a little bit more with them, you have a little more time. It's not, you can make that be a smoother transition, which is a favor to the puppy and the person. They're going to be happy with that. I mean, especially like throw a lead around them, get them a little bit lead broke. I tend to name all of my puppies Bubba and Sissy, because I don't name them unless I keep them, But I mean, you can start out there like, come on, Bubba, I mean, get them a little bit where they're used to coming and that kind of thing. Start on there. If I keep them much over 16 weeks, I start getting a collar on them. Get a little bit of lead resistance where they can start, so that it's not like the first time they've ever had anything around their neck and they're going to be like, wild world of fishing, and they're going to be on the end of the lead going all over, that kind of stuff. But that's kind of like when you think about the time, how your time just gets more and more and more. That's why you got to make those decisions earlier and earlier and earlier, so you have the time to spend on.
What about uh, dental care as you're going through these first 8 to 16 weeks before you get rid of a puppy? Anything dental wise? I mean, we know about shots. We talked about vaccines in the last episode, but what about uh, dental generally? Is there any breeds that you would pay more dental attention to, or is that more like, we'll get them into a dental checkup when they're a year old type of thing?
Okay, so right after the mom has had the litter, her mouth is going to be really trashed because she has been cleaning puppy shit for a month. That does not, so I mean, her dental care, when she weans that litter off, you need to see about whether you do your own teeth cleaning, whether you have the vet do it or whatever. She's probably going to be needing some dental care after she gets done with those puppies. And the better care you take of her mouth and the better care you put into that, the longer she's going to keep teeth, the healthier she's going to be, the more you can breed her. All of that. It just care, that is an investment into their health. Mouth health is everything. As far as the puppies go, as you start to break them up and you start to bathe them and cut their nails, which I start to do as soon as I get well, depends how damn dirty they are. I mean, if you gotta go in there and go, oh, Bubba just pooped on your head. Well, you're gonna get a bath today. When I wash a puppy, I'll go ahead and I'll get like a wash bin and I'll put in like 2 inches of water and I'll just kind of, because I don't want to drown them out and get a bunch of water in their face and just kind of work at it like that. But the more you start to get your finger in there, kind of mess their teeth a little bit, so that they're not freaks about you sticking your finger. Want to brush their teeth. As soon as you can start trimming their little toenails, so they're not complete nutballs when you could bring the toenail clipper out and you're like going, okay, here we go, some worldwide wrestling here, because if you desensitize them to this early, it's going to make all the difference. If it's a breed that gets clippered, like a poodle or a cocker or whatever, you take the clippers even without a blade on and just touch their face with it, get them used to that. Like when we raised Shetlands, we would go ahead and we'd take the clippers and put it on the baby foals, so because get them used to the idea of being clipped, so that it wasn't a rodeo when you decided to go ahead and do it. All of these desensitization things that are going to be lead to care and training in the future, because everybody's favorite dog is a great dog to live with. That's a dog that's easy to take care of, fun to bring, doesn't throw up, doesn't have a complete anxiety attack when you put it in a crate overnight. All of those things that, make a well-adjusted, healthy, swell dog. You do the groundwork as a puppy. And if you don't, you're going to pay for it later. Can you teach them later? Yeah. Is it harder? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Do you get the same results? No. With all of that investment in time is what makes the great dogs. And if you're going to show or do obedience, getting them geared to all of that earlier, the earlier you start, the better off you're going to do.
That's one of those that just goes in hand with one of those things of we've talked about before, of like finding a good breeder that does that. I mean, not anybody, people can breed dogs, but what are they doing with them after they're bred, after they're whelped? What are they doing with the puppies to get them ready to go home? And I think that's just a huge endeavor right there. If you have 13 puppies, are you able to get all 13 of them around clippers, around getting their mouths touched? I mean, that's a full-time job right there. But if you're having 3 puppies, yeah, you might have more time to stick your finger in their mouth and get them used to the weird things.
Well, you're not wrong. Everybody has a different level as to what they can do. There are people that can take 25 puppies and do a fabulous job with it. And there are people that can take 2 puppies and suck. So it really depends as to how dedicated you are, how regimented you are, how disciplined you are. I mean, if you are going to put the work in, I mean, when you start, because when I talk to people like, I'm wanting to get, I was like, so, what's your imprinting program? What do you do? How do you have like in some breeds, you're gonna like, are they exposed to other dogs? Because like some breeds are natural to other dogs, some breeds not so much. So, I mean, do I ever want to have any other dog other than this dog? So does it have good other dog skills? All of that stuff is so important. And it's such a good investment. That's why a lot of times, people get conventional knowledge is get them young because everybody kind of knows, well, the breeder's going to suck and they're just going to raise up in a pen or get put out in the yard and not going to get messed with, and they're going to be like a discount. If you raise your puppies right, your puppies should increase in value. When people talk about, well, I'm going to discount that one because it's older, that means they haven't done shit with it. And then you've just gone ahead and pulled yourself something off of the last bus out of town. But if I have a puppy and I've lead broke it and table trained it and it's good to be groomed and it likes to ride in the car, and I don't care if it's a show dog or a pet dog, it's worth more because I've put my work into it, and you're gonna enjoy the benefit of that work for the life of this dog, and it's gonna be so much better dog than you can even imagine. When someone's invested the time into them.
That was kind of the mindset I had too. Is like sometimes you'll see toy breeds, like the prices will be discounted because they're 16 weeks old, and it's like, so basically what you're telling me is I don't want this damn dog around anymore. It's a pain in my ass. I haven't done anything with it probably for over a month, other than feed it, and I'm sick of feeding it and cleaning up its poop. So I'm gonna discount it to get it out of here. Like that doesn't say I've been working with this dog, and this. I mean, you
Does
would
not.
think, just like you said, a good, responsible pet owner, breeder, going to be working with this dog, getting them ready. The value is going to go up because the older they get, they're going to have learned more. They're going to be more
Yeah.
appreciative of grooming, tabling, leash breaking, other dogs, other people, all the things. And not only have you put all that work in, but technically you've boarded that dog for however many weeks old it is. So you got boarding, you fed it.
Shots. Yeah.
Yep. More vet visits, more vaccines. So that all goes into it, and you should be getting a better dog, technically, if you're getting it from a good, responsible breeder that's putting time and effort into their puppies. One
Well,
last.
how about like the videos? So it's like, you already got you have a 16-week-old puppy. Send me a picture of that puppy. Send me a video of you walking that puppy on lead. Send me a video of you doing something with that puppy. I want to see, because the dogs always tell on you. You can tell the reality, you can make your alternate facts, you can razzle and dazzle with all the BS. The dogs are going to tell on you. If your puppies come and stand on the table and they like people and they're good to travel with and they have nice manners, you did your work. You know, they're like in the show in the trolley and they're all just kind of laying there, just chilling out, man. We're waiting to show. Then you've done your work. When they're like acting like they're caught in a live trap, you have not done your work. You know, I mean, so pictures are great, videos are better. Because it's gonna show. I mean, show me what you can do with that dog, and then that tells you a lot. Because you're not gonna get blown away by a good picture. A good picture is great. Like, it's like Match.com. You just look at the picture, oh my God, that's the person in my dreams. Well, be around them for a day and see if you still like them. Because, that's what's going to really make or break the whole arrangement.
Or kind of like your Facebook post today that you put in, like anybody can. I mean, AI is getting so good. You can go
So,
type in give me a Japanese chin with this, this, and this, and it's going to give you the perfect looking Japanese chin, and nobody would really ever know, and you can take a picture and have AI doctor it up and do all the things, and video. Take your iPhone or your cell phone, whatever it is, shoot me a video, text it to me. Like, we're in 2025. And that's like one of the biggest things I keep saying is, like, let's utilize our resources. We got to get out of 1990 and get up with 2025 here in a lot of areas in the dog world.
Well, yeah, but you take that litter of puppies, and you can go, here's a video clip of the babies. Here's the video clip of their first bath. Here's a video clip of their first car ride. Here they are with their first toy. All of that stuff should be adding value to people. And that should me as a consumer, I'm going, well, these people care about these dogs. If they're doing this and this and this, I'm getting the warm fuzzy. Like, I'm going like, wow, this is a dog that is raised the way I would want to have my dog for the next decade plus. So if you make those stuff when you've got your litter, document it so you can share it with the people. Here was Bubba when he got his first da 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 da. Here's Bubba when the cat slapped his face. All of this stuff. I mean, it shows so much more. It's not just like the picture of them laying on the gold lame blanket with the toy sitting there like this, and they're going, that's great, but it's not reality.
It's fun when whatever time there's puppies, so it's like right now you're gonna get puppies with Mount Rushmore in the background and pretty flowers and all the things, because we're coming up on that. And Easter time you get puppies with the Easter bunny and Easter baskets and eggs and all the things, and the fall it'll be hay bales and all the Thanksgiving stuff. And it's like, those are great for marketing, and we'll have an episode on marketing your puppies, but it's also not realistic either. Like, let's see what these puppies are doing when they're not on a table scared out of their mind because they got this big Easter basket next to them and they're frozen. Like, let's
Exactly.
see their person. It doesn't show them their personality. All right, let's wrap this episode up with one last question, and it can be, I don't I think it's a pretty general question, but there's a lot of times when you'll see breeders posting their socialization protocols for their puppies, what they call their protocols, and they have, this fenced in area. They got tunnels, they got slides, things that the puppies can climb on. How important is that? If I don't have a kennel, I just breed out of my house. I don't have a ton of room. How important is that type of, I don't know if I want to call it socialization or if I want to say it's more just texture, obstacles, climbing. How important is that to a puppy under 10 weeks?
Depending on your breed. If you're talking about German Shepherd puppies, Border Collie puppies, things, Labrador Retriever puppies, these things are reality. These things are making and shaping what this dog's life is going to be. When you're talking about a companion dog that needs to lay on the couch and eat Doritos with you while you watch Netflix, well, then I'd rather see a video of the puppies laying on the couch and watching Netflix. So it depends on the breed, depends on the value of depends as to what your intentions are with that dog. Are you wanting a show dog? If I want a show dog, then I want to see I want pictures from you being at the feed store with that puppy riding around the shopping cart. That's what I want to see. But if I'm wanting a hunting dog or a performance dog, yeah, get those tunnels out there. Rolling that ball through there, going through there, son. You got to go through the tunnel. I don't know as if that's a deal breaker for a Japanese chin or a toy dog. I mean, it breed specific, because that's where all these different breeds of dogs. When you find that breed for you, the life for you, then you want to go ahead and you want it to have the head start for the life you want with that dog. If you're like really big into therapy and service work, then you want to get that puppy out, get a canine good citizen on it as soon as it's old enough, and start getting that stuff on there. All of that stuff is kind of important for your goal. But larger breeds, bigger commitment, more hands-on, more breaking of that unit.
More everything. I mean,
or
you
everything.
gotta have the property or the space
Sure.
to not only put out 13 dogs, but these 13 dogs aren't 5 pounds. They're 25 pounds, 30 pounds, when they're going home. So you got to have the space. If you got the space to do that, then if you're breeding and raising hunting dogs to be hunting dogs, you're going to
Sure.
have the right socialization techniques for that breed.
You're breed specific. Absolutely. And that's where if you're going to take on being a breeder, you need to like live in the right place for that. As far as like, if you're going to have 30, 40 dogs, well, that's swell. That's awesome. Aces. You just need to live where you can do it. You need to live where the dogs can live. Like Japanese chin, it's quiet. It's like having cats. You could live anywhere and have as many chin as you could stand, and it'd be fine. No one would complain. But beagles, awesome dogs, little loud. That they need, or something that need more exercise space. All of that. So that's where you kind of gotta figure. It's like, what do I, what does this look like for me in my situation? And I think that's part of the thing. Like when you're raising dogs and you have your breed that you genuinely like and you like living with them, then that person, you identify with them because that's your customer. That's the person that wants that kind of dog, and so you know what they want. you know. And if they're wanting a Yorkshire Terrier, they probably want a silky one with a pretty little face and probably 5 pounds, and that they can put it in the bag and they can go places with it. That's what they want. That's what their goal is. And I think that once you know your breed, you know your customer, and and it's gonna, and the environment that breed, how that orchid is gonna bloom, what you need to do to make that right.
So when
That's
Sally comes to you saying, I live in an apartment uptown New York, but I want this GSP, like, sorry, Sally, probably not a good situation.
no.
Let me get you in contact with a Yorkshire Terrier breeder.
Bingo. And I think that sometimes, and I say this a lot, you got to protect people from themselves. You know, as like, what do you really, you think you want, but what do you really need, and what do you really want? And do you have time? Is this going to be the right fit for you? And it's not going to be just for like the next 3 weeks. I mean, for the next 10 to 15 years. So that's where, all of these things in there. I mean, we talked about rescue dogs and all that. The idea that they're a rescue dog, they didn't come from a great beginning, So you have to, but when it needs to work, when it needs to fit the family, when it needs to fit the situation, that's when you like got your breed, you got your breeder. They're going to raise it the way I want it, the way I would hope it would be raised, and you're going to get your best fit, and you're going to get your favorite dog.
I could never do a basset hound for multiple reasons, but my neighbors really pushed me to get a basset hound because their little yippy dogs are so annoying. It's like, I could get a couple basset hounds and we could have some real fun competitions, but I couldn't stand it myself. So, you
Yeah,
know,
bark off, neighborhood
yeah,
bark off.
yep, nope. I'm not the type to draw attention. I like to fly under the radar. So, all right, that should wrap us up for this episode. We went an hour. It's amazing how fast an hour can fly by when you get us talking about dogs. So we appreciate everybody joining in this episode of the TACBox Podcast. Follow us on your favorite networks. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see Dale's handsome face, and share this with your friends that are in the dog community because there's so much beneficial information here, and it's going to be on the YouTube channel forever and ever. So it's your never-ending encyclopedia for dog information as we grow. So we're thank you for being along for the ride. Dale, have a fantastic rest of your week and travel safe this weekend.
You too, guys. Take care.
We'll see you guys.